Hey everyone, in this video we're looking at multiplying fractions. So by the end of the lesson you're going to be able to multiply fractions using mental strategy. So that means that you don't need to use a calculator or technology, so things like software like Excel. By the end of the lesson you should be able to identify factors that you might need to simplify your fractions, and also using the mental strategies to help you solve your problems. So to have a look at your vocab to start off with, multiplying just means repeated addition. So when we say 3 times 4, we're saying how many, what's 3 groups of 4? So that's like saying 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. So you can see there's 12. In that case, you might hear the word of being used to represent multiplication. So a good example would be a worded problem such as, Miss Rakowski has 5 classes, and in each class she has groups of 28. So how many students does she have altogether? So that question is asking you how many students does she have altogether, and the strategy you can use is going 28 times 5 or 5 times 28 to work out how many students she has altogether. Or, as you can see, repeated addition, 28 plus 28 plus 28 plus 28 plus 28. So you can see where that's coming from. So in this lesson, we're actually just going to look at how do we mentally multiply fractions together. Multiplying fractions is straightforward as multiplying the numerator and denominator. There are some tips and tricks once you get your head around the basics, but essentially that's the short and curlies of it. So here we go. I'm going to start with B here because it's the one that looks like two fractions, and then we'll talk about A in a moment. So B here is going to be multiply your numerators. So I'm going to just write that as 1 multiplied by 3, and the fraction 5 times 4. Oh. Now you don't need to do this part here. It's just so that you guys can see where I'm going with it, and eventually you might just do straight away 1 times 3 equals 3 over 20. Oh, excited there with the pen. 20. And I do 3 over 20. I cannot simplify because 3 and 20 do not have any common factor besides 1. So if I divide this by 1, it'd still be 3 over 20. So in this case here, A, I'm going to have a look at how do I multiply it if I don't have a denominator. Now this is a whole number, so that essentially means that any whole number can be written as a fraction over 1. And if you think about it, it's like saying, well, if we think, I'm just going to write that over here, 1 over 1 is like saying I have 1 pie and I eat the whole pie, therefore 1 over 1. Or I have a test of 1 question and I got it right, that's 1 out of 1. I got 100%, 1 whole. So this is like saying Miss Rakowski made 3 pies, so 3 times, and 3 lots of 1 6. So that's what we're looking at here. So we've got 1 times 3. So as I said to you, you're not expected to write this line of working out, but I'm just showing you where it comes from, like the thought process. So I'm thinking out loud here. So 3 over 6. You would show this, and then you would show the next line. For some of you, you might recognize that 3 is half of 6, so you might go straight to 1/2. For others, you might have to look for the factors. So 3 is a common factor of 6. And we divide both by 3 because what you do to the top, you must do to the bottom. And that's simplified to 1/2. In the case of C, I'm going to do this as I have done these other 2 fraction problems. 2 times 9, 3 times 10 gives us 18. I can straight away see 3 as my value, as a factor. However, I can also see that they're both even. So straight away, knowing those 2 things means that I have enough information for the divisibility test, which is for 6. Multiples of 3, multiples of 2, both of them are those, so they are now multiples of 6. So 6 is my highest common factor, so I can divide both of these numbers by 6 with no remainders. What I do to the top, I must do to the bottom. And that gives us an answer of 3/5. Now, I'm going to do it in just purple here so you can see, yes, purple. There's something else that you should note is that you can actually look for common factors before you start. Now, those common factors can be vertical, so on one fraction, or they can also be diagonal, so that way, or this way. And what we can see here, if we have a look at our numbers, I can recognize that 2 and 10 have a common factor of 2. So I can divide both of those by 2. So I'm going to do that just with pink here. Actually, I'll use red. So that means 2 divided by 2 gives us 1. 10 divided by 2 gives us 5. And with the 3 here and 9, they have a common factor as well, which is 3. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. 9 divided by 3 is 3. And if we have a look here, it's going to give us 1 times 3, 1 times 5, which gives us 3/5. Now, if that is like too complicated for you, or you don't understand what's going on there, or you're like, wait, miss, it's just as easy just to do this and then divide it at the end, simplify at the end, by all means go for that. There's no one right or wrong way here, as long as you are multiplying your numerator, denominator, and then simplifying to the end. So that's all I'm looking for. In this case here, it is one of those ones where it is a vertical, because if we have a look at 2 and 9, they don't have a common factor, or except for 1, doesn't change anything, and 12 and 1 doesn't change anything. So if we have a look though at this number, we can find a common factor here, which is 2. 2 divided by 2 gives us 1, and 12 divided by 2, because what we do to the top, you must do the bottom, gives us 6. So it's going to give us 1/6, and then that means our new multiplication is going to be 1 times 1 over 6 times 9, which then gives us 1 over 54. And we can't go any further. So that is what we're looking at there. If you have your calculator, I'm just going to open up my calculator and show you how you would put that in. So it's going to be I'm just going to do, question C here. So you can see that your calculator actually does all the simplification for you. So that's another beauty. But remember, the aim of this video is to show you so that you are able to demonstrate that you can do this without a calculator. You could possibly use this to check while you're learning how to do this skill. 9 over 10. And that, if we press enter, it's going to give us 3/5. And that'll help out as well. Remember, if you hit this button, give you in a decimal form. So that is how you input it into your calculator. And that's all good. Righto. Sorry, and I've just forgotten one more thing. If you have a mixed number, so 4 and 2/5 times 1/3, you can't just do the fractions here. You actually have to convert this into an improper fraction, and then you can do your numerator denominator thing. So 4 times 5 is 22 over 5. So remember how I tell you, reminded you with the conversions, multiply those two together, add the numerator, times 1/3, 22 over 15. And that gives us, I cannot simplify any further, but I can write it as 1, and how many left over? We've got 7/15. So that's my answer there. And the last one we're going to look at as an example is when you see the word of. So 1/3 of 5/6. So essentially what you're going to do is replace that word of with a multiplication, and that equals, so we can do that as 1/3 times 5 over 6, and then you would complete that as a multiplication. Multiply your numerators and your denominators and simplify if possible. 5 over 18 can't be simplified. All right, so there are some questions for you to, too far, have a go at. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.